Hi guys, we're going to start with number 1. It says identify and graph with the center and the radius. It gives me the equation of a circle. I know this is the equation of the circle because it matches up with the standard form of it. So looking at what we have here, we're going to go and find the center first. That tends to be the easiest thing. So for me to find the center, the big thing here is that when you're looking at your h and your k, these are the opposites of what you actually want. So instead of having an x coordinate of +4, it's actually going to be -4 here. Same thing with the -2 is going to be a +2 when you're looking at its center because it's talking about the opposite of h and k. So I already have my center. Let me look real quick. Let me get my radius. Now this in the equation represents r squared, the radius squared. So we want to find radius. So if I know r squared equals 25, you want to undo the square by square rooting. Technically, we know plus or minus goes in front of here. We're just ignoring that since we're talking about lengths in a circle. So we're just going to talk about the positive form of it. So I'm going to have r is equal to the square root of 25. Square root of 25 is 5. So I already know my center, which is -4, 2, and my radius, which is 5, but I want to go and graph it. I apologize, not the best graph. I don't actually have graph paper here, so we're going with what we got. Looking at this, I'm going to go, okay, left 4, up 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And that's my center of -4, 2. So I just counted over. This is something that you can do if you don't have graph paper also. Next part is going to be the radius. Radius is equal to 5. So if I count 5 this way, 5 this way, 5 this way, and 5 this way, I'll be able to create the circle since it's equidistant from it. So let's count 5. Let's go with the right first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need 1 over here, so 5. That's my first point. Let's go down 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need 3 down from the axis. Okay, let's go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going all the way up there. And then to the left 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my center. The circle's going to go around. Try your best. Make sure it does look like a circle. You don't want to just connect them with straight lines. And that's our number 1 completed. Let's go on to number 2. I'm going to skip around a little bit with the numbers, so just pay attention to which one I'm on right then, okay? So number 2 says the same thing. Identify its center, identify its radius. This one looks a little weird though. The reason why is here we have these brackets being squared. Here there's no brackets. So we gotta just think. I know my center is the opposite of h, opposite of k. The opposite of my h is gonna be 7, so I have a 7, but we have to think about what number could possibly be in there. So if I did create brackets here where the squared's on the outside and y is in the inside, what number would you be adding or subtracting? It would have to be 0 for this to work, because if it's 0, it ends up canceling out and leaving you with just y squared. So doesn't matter if you have it positive or -0 inside, because either way, when we go to put it in the center, it's going to be 0. So I have my center is 7, 0. My radius squared over here, radius squared is currently 4. So I'm going to square root. I get radius is equal to 2. I can go down. I can at least fill in. I have my center now, 7, 0. My radius is 2, but I want to graph this. So looking at that graph there, I'm going to start with center 7, 0. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Doesn't go up or down at all, so that's 7, 0. This is going to be my center, and I need to count a radius of 2. So 2, 2, 2, 2. So let's count 2 here, make a dot. I might go down 2, make a point, left 2, make a point, up 2. 1, 2, make a point. Connect them with the circle. And that's the circle with this given equation. Looking at number 6 now. So we're skipping to number 6, so find number 6. So it says identify the center and the diameter given this. So let's start off, center ends up being a little bit easier. Center, it's just the opposite of the inside, so opposite of 7 is -7. Opposite of the y is +2. Over here we have 324, so that represents r squared. So r squared is currently 324. We want to find r, which is our radius, so we're going to square root. R is equal to 18. Okay, so I'm going to think, what do I actually want? I have my center already. That's going to be -7, 2. I don't have a diameter. We know the diameter is just the radius times 2, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say diameter is equal to 18 times 2, which in our heads, we can go, okay, diameter is equal to 36 units. So I can put 36 right there. I'm going to skip to number 8. So find number 8. It says identify the center and radius. I have this. I'm going to find my center first. So center is the opposites of your h and your k inside. So opposite of -6 is a +6. Opposite of positive 11 is a -11. That's my center. This 80 represents r squared. So I want to find my radius, so I'm going to square root. I get radius is equal to the square root of 80. We don't know that off the top of our head, so let's see if it can at least simplify. I already know it can simplify looking at the fact that 80, I know 4 goes into it, but let's start with the higher number. Let's see if there's anything above that. So I go in my calculator, I go 80 divided by here, and you end up finding that 80 actually has a factor of 16. So you do 80 divided by 16, and it's equal to 5. So I can say this radical is 16 times 5. I can take one of these out. I can take the 16 out. The 16 is now going to come out as a 4 because the square root of 16 is 4, so it's 4. What's left in the inside is a 5. So I have my radius is 4 root 5. I go down to the bottom. I go, okay. So I have my center is 6, -11, and my radius is 4 radical 5. Okay. Looking at number 10 next. They up it up a little bit with going with, okay, we're still finding the center, but we're going to find the circumference. Love finding the circumference. They're probably going to have us do area also, so let's see. So I look at this. Let me see my center. My center is the opposite. So the opposite of -3 is 3. The opposite, yet again, what number is inside? It's going to be 0. So opposite of 0 is still just 0. And I have a radius squared equals 32. We're going to find radius. Let's square root. I get the radius is equal to the square root of 32. It's not a perfect square. Let's see what goes into it. This one we might know already in our heads that it's going to be 16 times 2. What comes out? The 16 does. The 16 comes out as a 4. What's left over is a 2. That would be great. Looks like the last question, but they don't want that. They want the circumference. So I'm going to take this and I'm plugging it in. Remember, C equals 2 pi r. So if C equals 2 pi r, I'm going to go, okay, C equals 2 pi, and my radius is 4 root 2. Remember, we already know our properties. I know I can kind of move these around. I'm going to move this just next to the 2 just to see what we can actually multiply. It might be easier for you guys to see. So this is what it means right now. I have 2 times 4 root 2 times pi. Remember, radicals go with radicals, whole numbers go with whole numbers. So I'm going to do the 4 times the 2. I get 8 root 2 times pi. Now, you guys haven't seen one of these in a while where it has a whole number, a radical, and pi. So I want to show you how we're going to correctly rearrange it. It's going to go 8 first, then we're going to have the pi, and then radical is going to be at the end. So that's my circumference. Yet again, we know every time that we do circumference, it has to be two answers. One's in terms of pi, which this is. One is in terms of its decimal form. So let's plug that into our calculator. 8 times pi times radical 2, giving us C equals 35.54. I'm going to put my answers down at the bottom. My center is 3, 0. My circumference is two answers. We got 8 pi square root of 2 and 35.54. Yes, you do need to have both of those answers. Okay? Flying by, we're on our last one already. Identifying the center and area of that given equation. Center, pretty easy at this point. All we're going to do is do the opposite. Opposite 7 is negative 7. Opposite of positive 2 is a negative 2. And we have a 108. We want area. Let me find my radius first. So radius squared is equal to 108. So the radius is equal to the square root of 108. I don't know square root of 108 just off the top of my head. Let's see what goes into it. I look, 36 is the biggest perfect square that goes into it, so I'm going to break this up. It's 36, and it goes into it 3 times. The 36 comes out as a 6. What's left over is a 3. Let's find the area now. So we already know our formula. A equals pi r squared. I'm going to plug in my r. I have area equals pi. Now radius, it's this squared. Now there's no addition and subtraction in here. It's not 6 plus radical 2. It's not 6 minus radical 2. It's just 6 times it. So I can actually distribute the squared to both, but I'm just going to write it out twice just to make it a little easier on you guys. So I have area equals pi times 6 squared root of 3 times 6 squared root of 3. This might be just a little easier. Let's look at what can multiply. I'm going to leave the pi go by itself for a little bit. Whole numbers go with whole numbers. So right now I have area equals pi times 36 times radical 3. So square root of 3 times square root of 3. The beautiful thing about that is it ends up canceling out the square root, and we're left with 3. If you do need to go through the process in your head still, you're just thinking, okay, square root of 9, which is equal to 3. Let's multiply these two together. We get 108, which is kind of cool. We already started with that number. I have area is equal to 108 pi. Remember, we have to leave it as two answers in terms of pi, in terms of decimals. So area is equal to, put that in my calculator, 339.29. Let me go down to the bottom, fill out what I have. My center is negative 7, negative 2. My area is 339.29 and 108 pi. That's it.